AI agents are on everyone's mind at the moment. Everyone's talking about them. They seem to be in the papers. You can't pick up an article without reading about it. But if I'm in an enterprise and I'm responsible for a particular application or workflow or integration project coming up, or I want to improve something, how do I start? Where do I start with AI? And how do I know that it will improve what I'm trying to do? My name is Adrian Wright, and I am CEO and founder of Estafet. And I'm here with Branimir Angelov, who is enterprise architect. And we're going to talk specifically about this problem. And it's really giving you an idea of how to start, what to do, and where to end up just before you go into production. We're going to focus on those particular topics. Branny, welcome. So I'm a project manager or an architect. I've got a number of tasks that I think need improvement, maybe some workflows or some applications, and everyone's talking about AI. What do I do? How do I know if AI is applicable to any of my, work stream?
Yeah, it's very good question, because you touch these workflows and applications. So the applications usually something that you sell to your end customers, and that's a very sensitive area for your business when it comes to quality and performance. And this is where the AI adoption is always a kind of a hurdle. But on the other hand, the workflow is something that is very often part of let's say a larger value chain, or is something internally facing. And actually what I would say is that starting your AI journey from the workflow makes much more sense. It's much more lower risk for your business.
And just give me an idea of what type of workflow would suit an AI application versus one that you think maybe definitely wouldn't.
Yeah, so in that sense, the workflows, let's say that they have different steps. They might require some human interaction in some of those steps. And when it comes to the first thing to do is to make an analysis of actually the different steps in this workflow, the problems that they solve. Are they bounded problems or unbounded problems? When you have the human interaction, usually it's an unbounded problem. And this is where Gen AI is something that can be used as an AI architecture. On the other hand, the bounded problems are also quite interesting nowadays to be solved with AI, because in the recent years there are a lot of improvements in the AI models that are used for bounded problems. And that's another set of interesting tools that you can use.
Yeah.
So the first step, would be to classify different problems that you have in your workflow.
Actually, let's classify for everyone the sort of different types of AI in your mind, just the categories, so that when we're talking about them, people understand whether it's an LLM you're talking about, or maybe the other sorts, AI.
Yeah, so for a company that is really in the beginning, you can easily use a very kind of, let's say, a high-level category. Mm-hmm. So the Gen AI, and these are like the transformer models, which are quite popular nowadays. They are really used to process unstructured data and to really put them into more unbounded type of problems. Mm-hmm. And the more traditional models, which are the traditional, for example, convolutional network architectures for neural networks, or like, for example, the typical machine learning problems that we have been talking in the last years, they're more suited for bounded problems like classification, optical character recognition, identification, and such kinds of problems. And these models actually, the transformer architecture have been used in the last years also to improve these type of models as well. So I would say that nowadays, when you start your AI journey, it makes sense to look into both categories, because there are new developments in both categories.
Okay. And what about just talk to me about, if I've got something with very little data versus maybe an application or a workflow with, a lot of data attached to it. Would that sway your mind as to where AI would be useful from a current technology perspective to improving it with AI?
Yes, so that's a very good way of thinking. So nowadays, with large language models and this kind of very deep kind of neural networks, you have actually the ability to use those models into workflows and domains with very little data, because they have a lot of fundamental knowledge. So you can start with those large models, and very often they can solve your problem with the sufficient, let's say, prompting, how it's being called nowadays, or with even some fine-tuning. You can really solve a problem with for which you have a very small amount of data. Of course, if you have much more data, then you can think about actually training your own model that could be based on some fundamental model architecture, or you can even fine-tune some of the open source models.
Okay, and what type of system would you say that is definitely not suitable to AI? Where would you, what characteristics would it have?
So I'm going to answer this question from the business perspective, from risk management perspective. So I would say that if you're an enterprise or a company that is recently starting the adoption of AI, basically any sort of problem or area that is really facing your core business or your core customers, and you don't have the capability of actually measuring the quality of the solution that you provide, so you don't have these AI or machine learning capabilities in your organization, then I would say that these areas are high risk areas, and I wouldn't recommend to start your adoption in these areas.
Yeah. What about if you look at an application and it is, currently fairly straightforward, I don't know, maybe if then else logic or something that is, very deterministic, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Is there anything there that AI can help with, or would you say, look, it's not a great application because the benefit won't be huge?
Well, it really depends here, because if you have the benefit of these deterministic workflows is that usually you can measure very well the input and the outcome of those steps. And if you have such kind of workflow existing in your kind of value chain, and if you can get the right metrics, the benefit is that by utilizing AI and specifically Gen AI to actually automate those steps, you can really well benchmark the performance and have a very solid business case of whether you want to take this further. But on the other hand, here it's very important to analyze the degree of automation that you have in those deterministic workflows. If it's very high, and if it doesn't involve any human, then probably, and the quality is good for you, then probably this will be an area where we can easily see that it will be hard to really get a business case of adoption.
So we're looking for cases that, complexity isn't a problem, but where you see a clear business case in terms of automation, efficiency, and I guess quality as well, then we get more interested in AI. If the quality of the system is quite high at the moment and the automation is good, and as you say, there's no human involvement, then that would lower the chance of AI being able to improve that process. Branny, so I've got a workflow that I manage, or I've got an application that I manage, and I think that I could improve it dramatically, either to lower my costs or give me more competitive advantage somehow. But I don't know. I'm unsure, and I don't know about AI either too much. So where do I start? What do I do to sort of prove this to myself, but also to the business that it's worth funding and will help?
Yeah. So the first step here is really to analyze both your application and workflows and try to find this area which is low risk, because if AI is something that you newly bring to your organization, it's activity that it poses a lot of risks. So from that perspective, risk analysis is the first thing. So find this area. It could be a workflow, or it could be additional feature, like a supporting feature for your application. That possesses a lower risk for experimentation and proof of concept. And then the second thing is to try to see how well you understand this business domain where you want to integrate and prove the AI usability. And that's vital here because as part of the outcome of your POC, you really want to find something that you have a clear understanding of the business value, ideally clear understanding of your existing performance in that area. So when you do the POC and you measure the outcome of it, you can clearly make a business case for the further productization of the POC and the further integration steps. So I would say that you can start with this first two high-level analysis.
Right. So your POC is proof that this business case is going to work. So you would want to come out of it with metrics, increased knowledge, and probably understand your existing process and be able to benchmark that so that there's an improvement in there. What about, what does the POC look like? What do the tools and platforms look like? Because I haven't got an AI currently on my corporate asset list, and I don't know where to start. How do I tackle that?
Yes, well, this is a good thing to actually start now, as the landscape of AI tools has grown dramatically. The models and the usability of the models in specific business domains and the pre-trained models is also growing and has grown to a point where you can actually, if you have a good understanding of your business domain, you can most certainly find a pre-trained model that you can manage into a public cloud platform or a specialized cloud platform that you have already been using in your ecosystem to actually start your POC development with a pre-trained model. And then the next step here would be to, after you basically see the limitations of the pre-trained models, you can start thinking about, okay, how I can bring this further. And then you start thinking about, okay, so how can I actually do a more integrated benchmarking? How I can benchmark with probably real data. So in that case, how I can bring my POC into an environment where my data governance and security controls are working, maybe partially, maybe you can have a sandbox environment and do the real benchmarking. And then based on this feedback loop from where you see what is working well, what is not working well, you can start thinking about model customizations that can be ranged from fine-tuning to prompt engineering, depending on the underlying model that you use, to actually further improve and try to get the quality of the results higher.
Yes. Okay, so I understand. So I've got my POC. I have engaged with an AI expert in terms of the architecture that I'll use, and I sort of understand what metrics I'm heading for. How about let's give an example. That'll make it real, won't we? So could you give me an example maybe of a POC that you've worked on that would help people understand where POCs are useful and what they contain?
Okay, I think that one good example here would be, let's say, start with the bounded problem, let's say document classification or extracting information from a document. So from that perspective, you have a clear business domain that, for example, looking into, for example, company documents.
Yes.
So you have a clear business domain, and here you can start.
This could be, for example, in the onboarding process, let's say with a bank or something, you want to identity management.
Yep, that's a very good idea.
Yeah.
Let's establish this problem domain. Onboarding in a bank, for example. So processing those documents and extracting the required data from them. So this is quite clear business domain. So you can, it's basically a document information extraction. So you can start looking into pre-trained models, and then depending on how your existing software ecosystem is organized, for example, do you use a public cloud provider or you use some more specialized software as a service or platform as a service integrated within your IT governance, you can start from there and look into the solution that you have and see what kind of pre-trained models are available within that solution. So you start from there, you use the pre-trained model under your, let's say, a sandbox environment, part of your IT governance, and basically use the cloud platform and the capabilities in the cloud platform to manage the whole process of actually integrating the pre-trained model into a POC workflow, getting the scores, and establishing the actual feedback loop in terms of managing the test data, capturing the scores, and doing the benchmarking.
Yes. So in this case, you are taking a complete workflow, identifying a piece, a step in that workflow, injecting AI into that, and then you're able to understand the outcome of the workflow with the AI in terms of your performance metrics or the cost saving in terms of manual intervention, but you've got your benchmark for your original process as well. Is that how you'd like to see a POC?
Yes, exactly. This should be the outcome of this POC. And now the important part here is how do you manage this process, this feedback loop, the so-called ML operations. And this is something that you can really, as for a POC perspective, look into the available capabilities of your cloud provider or your specialized platform as a service provider to see if there is any managed MLOps capabilities there, which basically means the ability to capture and to do the benchmarking of the model, and then eventually start incorporating steps like fine-tuning or onboarding different document templates into the pre-trained model to actually see if this is going to improve the results. So this, let's say, a managed MLOps kind of capability is a very good place to start when it comes to POC.
And quite often we like with a POC to see the outcome and know what the outcome is, but quite often, certainly in our experience, we find that you can't often predict what that outcome will be. Just tell me a little bit about how to run the POC with the mind that maybe you'll discover new things rather than actually meet the objectives as you originally saw them. So those objectives will change.
Exactly. So that's a very good point. So here, actually, the agile nature of software development can help us a lot, and agile principles actually can help a lot in the POC development, because the POC itself is agile in its nature, and nowadays actually this becomes quite interesting, and this is why I'm kind of trying to structure the whole process, starting from a pre-trained model, then starting with some like fine-tuning and onboarding of custom templates, and basically with the large availability of tools that you can find in the public cloud platforms, you can lower the cost of the POC dramatically. In addition to this, nowadays with the AI-assisted coding, you have also the ability to iterate much more quickly, and to basically be able to integrate the POC into more like an end-to-end type of scenarios, where you can easily involve your product management, your business analysis people, so you can have a better picture, better understanding of the actual outcome and the benefits of it.
Yes, I've got it. And that product owner, business analyst, they really need to know what they're doing, because the team will be moving very quickly. New things will come up, and they really need to understand the impact of these decisions that we're making when we're running the team on the end process in the business. Branny, I'm running a POC. I'm a project manager or business unit business owner. I've got concerns over using AI within my workflow from a governance perspective, security perspective. Can you just walk me through what's going on in your mind and what aspects you're looking at to protect the business, protect the security, and make sure that we are compliant?
Yes, that's a very very good challenge, and very big challenge in many of the more, let's say, industries that require higher level of compliance. But thanks to the adoption of cloud technologies, both public, hybrid, and private cloud technologies, this actually gives a completely different perspective on actually what you can do nowadays when it comes to running a POC. So in that sense, if your IT governance model is based on public-private cloud, or you're using some sort of a specialized platform as a service under your IT governance, this is actually the best place to start. Because in order to run AI-based POC, you need some degree of ML operations into your POC scope. And ideally, if you can select basically a managed ML operations type of technology, that is within your current IT governance model, this is something that is going to help and accelerate the POC development. And thanks to the wide adoption of AI nowadays, many of the public cloud providers have these capabilities. Many of the platform as a service providers have these capabilities there in a different level of different degree of configurability. And also thanks to the growing open source ecosystem, you can bring these the required tools under your, for example, private cloud governance to get the ML operations capabilities within your area. And then when it's under your IT governance, you can easily basically make a sandbox where you partition your data and have meet your compliance and regulatory standards.
Okay, so in the business case that I put forward, let's say for funding of an AI, let's say integrating into my workflow and maybe taking one or two tasks and improving them, and therefore lowering costs or improving my competitiveness in the market. I think there should always be in that business case a section on security, because as the business looks at AI, they're concerned about their own IP. They're concerned, and that IP could be in that workflow process. They could feel that would be their competitive part, and obviously the data as well. How do you reassure the business and I suppose the architects and the project managers within that business case that we can keep that private?
Okay, that's a very good point, because you need to actually really address those points in the POC level. Because ideally, although your POC might be a throwaway POC, in the end you want to have a clean road to production as outcome of your POC. So that's vital to address those challenges in the POC stage. And here, your suggestion of how you can divide the two problems actually is very good, because when it comes to intellectual property, here it's very important to select the right managed MLOps platform that makes sure that any model that you are actually developing as part of the POC, either it's through fine-tuning or through custom model training, to make sure that the provider has no IP or license restrictions on the end result. So to make sure that this model is entirely yours and the data that you feed in is not used to any training purposes to any third parties.
Yes.
And then when it comes to your data governance, in terms of the protection and the data protection of the actual data that goes into the model, in terms not only training but also in terms of inference. Here it's very important the fact to even the POC to align it with your IT governance policy. What this means in practical terms, like for example, if you use a public cloud provider, if you're looking into the actual managed MLOps capability of this cloud provider, you need to make sure that those can fit into your cloud landing zone, in terms of that you have the required network protection, to have the required encryption, to have the required access control standards that are per your IT governance policy. So although the POC is something that you run in a sandbox environment, it's important this sandbox environment to stay close to your IT governance model.
Yes, got it. So within our POC team, and we will talk about roles in a separate video, but you would have a strong security component to make sure that the customer is protected in that way. Brani, I'm going to set up a POC as a project manager or an architect or a program manager. I've run lots of POCs before using sort of more traditional technology, and I understand the team and the team structure there. How would the team structure and the roles differ once you introduce AI into a project?
Yeah, that's quite different actually from what you would traditionally see. And there are actually two main aspects here. So the first aspect is that the POC, when you introduce an AI, usually is something that you want to have a very clean and very understandable business value that you want to actually benchmark and measure with this POC, and eventually integrate this into your production systems. So from that perspective, actually the role of the product manager here is extremely important. But then the scope of the POC, because you have AI in it, very often when it comes to technology, actually it spans it's quite diverse. And from that perspective, and also from the fact that usually you want to align this POC with your IT governance model, but on the other hand, you want to separate it from your traditional software or delivery lifecycle in order to make it quick and fast, and basically jump directly into the problem domain. Then you essentially need to set up like a small team that can be complete in terms of software lifecycle delivery. So from that perspective, this is quite different. And the other perspective here is that when it comes to technology, actually the POC, it can leverage a lot when it comes to like AI. You have this managed MLOps kind of capability that you need to bring in. And this is something that requires also a lot of understanding in terms of cloud management. So your team actually, it will become like you can think of it as a small squad team that have from different departments in your organization, like senior people, we just work together in a very effective way.
Understands. So the structure of that team, you'd have a product owner. You would have then a group of specialists within that team. Can you just go through each of those roles that you'd have?
Yeah, so typically what you would have is somebody who is kind of understanding the systematic evaluation of AI or machine learning type of features, which requires some knowledge on, let's say, data science in terms of benchmarking, scoring, and selecting the correct benchmarks based on their understanding of a specific.
So would that be a data scientist, or is that a data scientist developer role?
Yeah, so I would say that when it comes to POC, basically selecting people that can wear two hats is always beneficial. So I would say that here it's not like a typical data scientist, because in the scope of the POC you'll be rarely crunching big amounts of data unless you have a very, very specific or unique business domain. But in the majority of the cases, you won't be having like a deep data crunching or data science problems. It will be more like, let's say, on an architectural layer, like really benchmarking a machine learning pipeline, understanding how the different scoring works, things like this.
Yes. Development language, we use something like Python. So is that always in there, or is it just dependent?
It's I would say that when it comes to language here, Python, it really becomes the universal language on that layer. It's well integrated in both the open source tools, but also it's widely used in the tools that are provided by the public cloud providers or in the specialized platform and service providers.
Okay. So we've got senior people, good product owner with autonomy for the business. They can make decisions quickly. You've then got data scientists, maybe Python developers, or certainly developer in that field. You've mentioned MLOps as well. How about testing?
Well, testing is very important here, because ideally, and here I would emphasize both on the role of the DevOps or the MLOps engineer that is really going to focus on actually how you bring most efficiently the pre-trained models within your IT governance model in the sandbox that you have selected, or how you configure in the correct way the public cloud platform as a service features that you would like to utilize. So here the ops person is extremely important, and it's something that I would say is quite unique when it comes to a POC if you compare this to traditional POCs. And the tester here, again, it has a vital role here, because it's very important to have a very good automated testing that is going to feed the required information to the data scientist and back to the product owner. So I would say that these two roles are quite unique, and very often when we talk about the POCs in the traditional terms, what we are thinking about is really a specialized team in a specific technology that is really focused on the actual POC. It's a UI feature or some sort of a backend feature. You usually have this specialized team. And when we have the AI PoC, it's much more well-rounded cross-functional team that you need.
And testing frameworks, are they the same and new ones? How do you
Yes, so when it comes to Gen AI, there are a lot of new frameworks that have to be taken into account. Frameworks that are trying to measure the quality of the response, to measure the degree of hallucination that you see in the LLM responses, to fix the structure of the response that you have. So when it comes to Gen AI and testing of Gen AI, there are plethora of new tools that needs to be used. But on the MLOps and the ops side of things, the tooling is, let's say, more aligned with what traditional operations and engineer is used to. But on the testing side, yes, there are several new tools, especially if your POC is focused on Gen AI.
Yeah. And the team itself, it's going to be quite experienced. It's got to have seniors on board, mainly because otherwise it's just too slow. In that if you're running a POC, you want it quite short and you want that team to be up and running very, very quickly so that you can get to prove the business case. You don't want to be spending a huge amount of time and money proving the business case, because you're going to need that budget for actually productionizing and getting on with adding value to the workflow. Is that when you see a team, it's probably quite an elite team in your mind, is it?
Yes, exactly. And here it's what you touched about the budget, and here is something that I think is quite important. Like ideally, you want to have a fixed scope and fixed, let's say, budget for that, in order to be able to create a clean business case and see the road to production. And within that fixed, let's say, time frame and budget, here you really depend on the seniority of the team. Like, for example, your ops engineer, how well it can actually utilize and configure the managed MLOps capabilities of the platform as a service that is within your IT governance model, like a public cloud provider, for example. On the other hand, you have the senior developer that can balance, and when a custom development or custom POC code is needed to be written, it can use assisted AI coding tools to basically do this faster within a very low time frame.
Yes. And the last role, which we must talk about, is your role, which is the architect and the enterprise architect. Is there any difference in the architecture of traditional, let's say, workflow, Boolean logic systems versus something with AI? Say, is there a different approach there, or is it the same? What's your?
So I would say that on enterprise architecture scale, it's the technical aspects of the architecture are relatively the same, because these are like well-known problem areas. But what is a bit more challenging is more the business capability aspect of the enterprise architecture, because what we very often see is that there are capabilities which are absent in the organization. So here it's very important to understand what should be the strategy here on an enterprise architecture level of how you bring this POC further and how you tackle the gaps in the capabilities required for the business to really leverage AI. And here this could be capabilities in the organization, it could be skill related capabilities, and you have to basically think about whether you want to grow those internally or rely on a partner for that.
Great. So we've got a team, it's expert and senior, it's got some architecture, we've got data scientists, development maybe with Python, we've got the MLOps, and we've got the testers with some specific frameworks. That team needs to be experienced. If you see a team coming in that is junior or hasn't done this before, I think you might want to extend the length of that POC and bring in probably some experience, because obviously if you're proving a business case and you get that wrong, then when you could be spending a lot of money on the back of that trying to implement something that just won't work. So it's a real critical phase of the project and real critical team. What I want to focus on now is a little bigger than just that specific business case. I'm encouraging enterprises and SMEs to begin to get involved with AI now because of the vision of where it is and where we're going. I believe, and I've seen a lot of benefits from AI already, but I believe it is going to transform the way that we do business in terms of our workforce. I do believe that we will have agents, agentic AI, doing a lot of more work within our processes. And I think it will change our business in ways that we don't know yet. And therefore, and this will happen fairly soon, probably in the next 2 to 3 years, we'll begin to see that. I think, for example, we will see a one-man business that will probably earn $1 billion in revenue that uses agents and one person. I think that is possible. I will wait for it to happen. I don't think it'll happen in the next couple of years, but you never know. The growth of AI has been so huge that the acceleration is on a curve where I think in 2 or 3 years it's very difficult to predict where you'll be. But I do know that if you don't get involved now, I think your lack of learning and lack of understanding will probably be negative to your business. So bearing that in mind, I'm here with Branny, and I'd just like to get his views on it in terms of the overall impact of AI over the whole of the business rather than the specific business case that we've just been talking about.
Yeah, that's something that actually is quite interesting, that you can also try to prove this value and have a POC even on that level. And this is thanks to all the developments that are happening in the recent years around agentic AI and multi-agent systems and multi-agent interaction frameworks. So what's the interesting point here is that we have been talking about bounded problems within a workflow, but if you and then unbounded problems within a workflow, like how we have a specific step that has a human interaction, and actually you can have a Gen AI to help you with that. But if you look at the workflow itself, or the way that you provide value to your customers, actually this is another unbounded problem that very often from a complexity perspective is not so much different. So one interesting POC here would be really to try to actually look in the whole workflow or whole value delivery chain that you have, and try to see, okay, how actually I can benefit from the agentic AI to actually move all of these things happening in a, let's say, in an AI-driven way.
Yes.
And this is like much more difficult and much more different to scope it in the sense of like specific value. But on the other hand, with all of the developments that have happened recently, you can actually scope it in a way that you can use the outcome to influence your strategical and tactical decision in your midterm plan for your business in general.
Yes. And the industry is moving quite quickly. So we've already got enterprise platforms that are available just for that purpose.
Yes, that's absolutely on the spot, because this is actually what is unlocking the opportunity. Because before that, it's extremely expensive and extremely difficult to bring the right context to the agents and to the LLM to be able to kind of work on the whole value chain. But now with the enterprise platforms and the fact that these platforms are actually bringing those agent orchestration capabilities, is actually making let's say the POC, the potential POC costs much more affordable in order to be used for such kind of let's say strategic or tactical decision making. So essentially having an enterprise platform and basically leveraging their capabilities for agent orchestration and being able to have LLMs that are actually proactive and can model your whole value chain or your whole workflow is something that it's quite attractive in terms of opportunity.
And I don't think people should underestimate the work involved in the management of an agent as well, in that having a platform that really covers this for you is quite important. What's your view on management of those agents ongoing?
Yes, that's an extremely important aspect, because when you want to build such kind of, let's say, or when you want to model such kind of capability, you need to actually have a lot of lower level capability. So basically, you need things like MLOps, you need things like data science and IT governance, and then you have the whole agent orchestration and the interaction between the different agents running different models, which proactively can interact to one another. And these are many capabilities that you actually need to bring into your organization in order to be able even to POC the specific workflow that you are targeting. So from that perspective, I would say that, and I would encourage enterprises is really to look into these enterprise platforms that they're already using, and basically try to do this evaluation within the scope of those platforms, because this way they can leverage the sufficient level of context. Like, for example, if you have a CRM that has all of your information inside it, you can really effectively provide the sufficient context of those agents so they can have a high quality output when they model the workflow, and basically leverage this context. You can do it by leveraging the agentic capabilities of your enterprise platform. And then second, of course, but not less important, is the fact that this platform is already within your IT governance model.
Yes. So agentic AI has the potential to not only lower costs, but actually improve your product against your competitors as well. And I think people are using the POC now to try and identify exactly where at that enterprise level they want to be competitive. So their 2-year plan should really involve how AI is going to impact costs and their actual customers and their market as well. Is that you in line with your thinking?
Exactly, and this is something that they need to do now.
Yeah,
in a way.
Are we seeing new roles appear at senior level around AI, or is the CTO, really going to sort of cover that?
Yeah, so we have seen this happening more and more. This kind of fractional AI consultants, full-time AI consultants, and even like the idea to have a chief level role in terms of AI. But what I think is of course something that you can consider for your organization, to have like a chief of AI adoption or chief of AI integration or chief of AI. These kind of new, let's say, organizational development concepts. They're there, and they have their own, let's say, place. But there is one trap that you wouldn't have to be aware of, is that the AI itself is a cross-cutting concern. So it's something that cuts across your organization. So if you put it under a silo, then you will be able to benefit from it fully. So from that perspective, I would encourage organizations, those who think about having the AI as something that it's basically being addressed as a new kind of concern for both the CTO, the CEO operation, the operational roles, and also the information security and information protection roles.
Yeah, that's a great point. Actually, it's going to have an impact across all of your operations in your workflow. So everybody needs to be involved with this. Really, I think the fascinating thing for me at the moment, especially at board level, is I think people need to understand the art of the possible, and those discussions need to sort of be taking place, and maybe the research and the understanding of how AI is going to impact their business is becoming quite critical. Do you think those conversations are going on? How critical would you say they are?
Yes, so I think that the most critical one is really related around the AI, the potential AI regulations and the AI ethics, because this is the major hurdle of actually bringing the AI to your customers. Because the use of AI for your internal operations is something that is within your enterprise governance. But when you want to push AI more and more to your end customers, then this thing becomes a specific aspect, and you have to pay your attention around the ongoing regulations that are being developed into this area, especially related to protecting the customers, your customers, from a both ethical and data protection perspective.
Yeah. So I think the motto here is think global, but act local. So in this video, we've addressed the problem of where do I start? I'm an enterprise, a project manager, a product owner, I'm head of a department, I'm an architect, and I'm really interested in AI, and I have had thoughts around injecting that AI into my work stream and into my workflows so that I can improve them. We've tried to cover really the thought about how to get started, and that's included the POC. And all of this information, it's rapidly changing, but it's something that is of real interest at the moment in terms of the overall picture of AI and the impact it's having on our industry. We did speak a little bit about the vision in terms of the overall impact that we think AI will have on the enterprise. And I'd like to thank you, Branny, for those insights. I know things will change really quickly, but right now, it seems to me that the impact's going to be absolutely huge on business. And I think any board, any senior business owner would really be wise to be just thinking a little bit about AI now and the impact they have on their business. Is that your thinking?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Great talking to you, and thanks everyone for being with us and listening. Thank you.
Thank you.